Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Samanthropolitics. I'm your host, Samantha Carlin, and this is your place to talk about global politics and women's rights. We have a super exciting show to coming up for you today. We're going to talk about the second day of the impeachment trial, and then we're going to go to our special guest, who is coming to us from Argentina and was one of the key organizers in the protests that helped to legalize abortion in Argentina, Mariela Belski. So first, let's start with the second day of Donald Trump's impeachment trial. And I was just saying to Mariela, I don't want to report on Trump anymore. I'm really sick of it. He's not even the president anymore, and we're still reporting on this guy. So today, the managers of the impeachment trial released some pretty disturbing body cam footage that had never been seen before. So it was from the body cameras of some of the Capitol police officers that were there as the riot occurred. And you're about to see, it's pretty disturbing. I wouldn't let your kids watch this, but you're about to see exactly how vicious the attackers were. So Zach, if you could cut to that video, that'd be great. Man, those excruciating screams of that Capitol police officer who's pushed together. I mean, it's the fact that these people could be doing this to our own police officers who are there to protect and defend us when they're supposed to be the party of law and order, who love police and love the military, is just pretty striking. And highly disturbing. And you just see how unbelievably overwhelmed the Capitol Police were and how desperately they needed reinforcements. And really, the National Guard should have been there from the very beginning. Like once we knew what was going to be happening on January 6th, which was very obvious from Trump's tweets and from all of the intelligence that the United States had, that there were going to be significant protests that had the capacity to turn dangerous, we should have had the National Guard stationed there in the first place. And it's pretty unbelievable that it wasn't. But then to see just how overwhelming the mob was against the Capitol Police officers and how hard it was for them to push them back is really astonishing, especially, and this is one of the points that they made in the impeachment trials, that it took hours for Trump to finally deploy the National Guard. And the Maryland National Guard was actually ready to go because a congressman called from his office and said, we're under attack. And he called the governor of Maryland and said, can you please deploy the National Guard? And he said, okay, I'm trying to get through to the Department of Defense so that I can get that approved to deploy the National Guard. And he couldn't get in touch with the Secretary of Defense. As these poor people are being attacked, people are hiding in their offices. You guys saw a guest on my show who was just terrified. He was a Senate staffer, and he was sitting there saying, how can I protect the congresswoman? Like, what happens if people start walking in here with guns? Do I barricade the door? Do I put myself in front of her? And he's a small guy. The other thing that was really important in this was how Trump just didn't do anything or say anything, that he's the tweeter of tweeters, and he never hesitates to tweet about something, no matter how half-brained or ill-formed his thought is. He never has, staff look over his tweets to say, are these good? He literally just tweets in a stream of consciousness format, and he didn't say anything. There are people literally attacking the Capitol because he told them to go to the Capitol and to stop the vote, and he said nothing. And even, it's bad when Ivanka and Jared Kushner are literally going to Trump's office and saying, please issue a statement. Please say something to these people. This has to stop. And the dereliction of duty of somebody who's the president of the United States, to not only egg these people on, but then once this is happening and people's lives are literally in the balance, he doesn't do anything. I mean, talk about not caring at all about our national security and putting national security at risk. Because remember, domestic terrorism right now is our biggest national security risk. It's not Russia, it's not China, it is domestic terrorism. It is the people that were at the Capitol. That is our biggest national security risk. And the time that there was our biggest national security risk, our president was silent. So, and to top it all off, Giuliani, as these people are being attacked, is calling and leaving messages on the wrong people's voicemail saying, hey, can you vote to stop the certification of the election? Like, not like, hey, are you guys okay? What's going on? Are you alive? What's happening? Give us an update. What can we do to help? It was, hey, we'd really like the support of Republican senators. Like, unbelievable. So we'll see if, enough Republicans are swayed by this in the Senate in order to vote for Trump's impeachment. Some pretty powerful moving stuff here. I mean, some people are saying they're not going to have the votes, but the dereliction of duty and the incitement of violence is so incredibly obvious that, and this was an attack on our country, that I don't know how a Republican could vote against this and think that that's and save face. I mean, they're basically endorsing an attack on the Capitol if they don't vote for Trump's impeachment. So crazy stuff. So I want to move on to another part of the world, which is Burma, just to give you a brief update. So if you could hit that slideshow, Burma, Zach, that'd be great. So we talked about Burma last week, how there was a military coup that deposed Aung San Suu Kyi, who was the president of the country, and put her in prison. And my guest last week was saying that we didn't think that there were going to be mass protests in Burma on the streets like there are in Russia, in Belarus, and all these other countries because of the history of police violence against protesters. Actually, that the protests have happened. The streets are now packed, as you can see, with protesters who are protesting the military coup, who do not want the military in charge, and who are demanding the release of Aung San Suu Kyi. So we'll see what happens in Burma. But, I think this is just a reflection of all of these countries. People see other people protesting, and that galvanizes them. And we're going to talk about that with regards to Argentina in a moment, that, people aren't that scared anymore, because they also know that if the police are violent against them, people are going to see that on the news. People are going to see that via social media. People are going to see that on Twitter. And that it's not so easy anymore for police or for military to get away with overt violence against peaceful protesters. And it looks really bad for whoever's endorsing that at the top. So we'll see what happens in Burma. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Argentina. I love traveling all over the world on this show. It's really exciting. I've been wanting to report on this for a really long time, and I was waiting for the right guest, and I'm so excited to have her here today. So Argentina on December 29th became the largest nation in Latin America to legalize abortion. This was a landmark vote in a pretty conservative area where there are the strictest anti-abortion rules in the world, and where women have been criminalized for having abortions. In El Salvador, for example, women can be jailed for up to 30 years for having an abortion. And sometimes it's a miscarriage that then somebody says, no, that was an abortion. And all of a sudden the woman is in prison for 30 years. It's really been devastating human rights abrogations against these poor women that either can't afford to have kids, or miscarried, or were raped. I mean, just horrible. So there was 12 hours of debate in the Senate, and it was really looking at the kind of conflict between this conservative society that's long been really influenced by the lobby of the Catholic Church, and a newer generation that is less religious and that cares about women's rights. The bill was actually approved by more than expected margin. It was 38-29 with one abstention. So, and I think what it made clear too was that when abortion is illegal, it doesn't mean that women stop having abortions. Women still have abortions, they just have them in much more dangerous ways that put their lives at risk. And so what was really interesting, and we're going to talk about this in Mariela, was that Alberto Fernandez pushed this as a public health issue, not as a moral or religious issue. So I just want to show the video of people celebrating when abortion was legalized in Argentina, because you could just feel the energy. So Zach, if you could cue up that video, that would be great.
Muchísimo a las señoras diputadas y diputados.
Man, so without further ado, I want to bring in Mariela Belski. She's an experienced human rights feminist lawyer and an advocate in international rights law. She's more than 20 years of work in issues involving human rights, gender, justice, and strategic litigation. She's the executive director of Amnesty International Argentina, an organization that has been deeply campaigning for the decriminalization and legalization of abortion in Argentina. She's also the Argentine ambassador of She Decides, which is a global political movement that works in order to advance the right of women and girls everywhere to decide about her bodies and their lives. So without further ado, welcome to Mariela.
Hi, thank you.
Muchísimas gracias. I'm so excited to have you on the show. So where were you when that happened, when the vote was passed?
And in the same place that where the other women's were. I was there the whole night. Was an amazing night. Was very, how can I say, like very moving. I was very tired. I'm not very young to be there the whole night. I'm 49 already, so was very, very long night. But to be honest, we knew the law was already, we knew we won at I would say at 3 a.m. in the morning. So it's true that you wait until the last minute, but when we were counting all the numbers, so at 3 a.m. we knew that they were more voting in favor rather than against. So we started to celebrate very early indeed that day.
So incredible. So one of the things that when I was doing research on this, that they're saying is that one of the laws that set the stage for this was the 2017 law that expanded the quota law for women in Argentine parliament. Can you explain what exactly happened there in 2017 and how that may have influenced?
Was in 2018. We had in 2018 we had an abortion, a decriminalization abortion debate. But the thing was that law was presented, but the National Campaign Against Abortion, which is an umbrella organization made by a lot of small organizations. It's a federal movement that fight for the legalization, that has been fighting for years until this year for the legalization and decriminalization of abortion. Amnesty is part of that national alliance. And what happened in 2018 was that for the 7th time, that campaign presented in the Congress a project to decriminalize and legalize abortion that was signed by more than 72 legislators. That was in the former government, which was, I would say, more right-wing than this one in a way. But that government realized that the women's movement was very moving at that time. We started to move and to be at the street on the 8th of the March, which is the Women's Day. We were a lot of times because of the violence against women here in Argentina. In fact, today we have a very, very, very hard case. The violence against women here is very high. We have since the year start, we already have 40 women that had died because of violence. So 40, yes, since the 1st of January. So the demonstration at that moment were very, very strong.
So that's like one woman a day, if not.
It's exactly. I was counting to that. I was saying to my partner, that is one woman a day. It's terrible. And the thing is that at that time in 2018, there were a lot of demonstrations because of these raids. And the government at that moment decided to open the debate. But they decided to open the debate, and they said, as the government, as the political party, we are against, which is not, it's very important.
What did they say? We are against?
Yes, they said, the president at that moment said, I'm against abortion, but I'm very democratic. I'm a democratic person. I'm going to allow this debate in 2018. So the debate happened. The law was passed in the deputies' chamber. The law was passed in the deputies' chamber. The issue was a very niche issue. It wasn't like it wasn't abortion. Abortion wasn't in the political agenda at that moment. The important issue about 2018 is that because of that, the issue started to be in the public agenda. So every people started to understand what abortion means, why abortion is important. Suddenly we started to have the church involved in these discussions. We didn't have that before. And the most significant things I would say was how the youngest took the issue, the cause, as their own. Abortion was a flag of the young people. So then the law went to the Senate chamber and we lost it in 2018. When Alberto Fernandez won the elections, he knew that all the people who voted for him was in favor of abortion. So he promised he would send that law as part of his.
Okay, so I was trying to figure this out with Alberto Fernandez. So a lot of his support was from people that he knew wanted abortion legalized. Interesting. Okay, that clarifies a lot.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, if you don't have in Argentina, like if you don't have the executive power of the president, like in favor, make all the pressure and the negotiation with the governors in the provinces for this law to be passed, the laws are not passing here. So what happened was that because his commitment, he made all the efforts for that law to be passed. That's why the law was passed this year. So it was not also because of the fight of the women's movement fight that we have been fighting for this for years and years, and the older women more than myself, of course. And the women's movement in Argentina is very strong, very very vocal. So it has to do a lot with that, but also it has to do with some political interventions like the ones that Alberto Fernandez did, all the negotiations with some senators in terms of votes, with governors. So it's a combination of both things.
I teach a women's leadership course, and one of our topics is creating institutional change. So I hope some of you ladies are here, because I told the women in the course that they should be here tonight. But what it sounds like you're talking about is that it was bottom-up pressure, but then also top-down executive power.
Absolutely. It wouldn't happen. In Argentina, it wouldn't happen if the president wasn't allowed to do that. As the former did, the former said, okay, let's make this debate, which in fact, and to be honest with you, the debate that we had in 2018 in my perspective, was the most robust debate we had since democratic start in Argentina, because a lot of people, myself as well, were presented our positions in the Congress. We were more than 1,000 people there speaking about abortion during 8 months. You have no idea how much the citizenship get into the subject because of that. So 2018 is very important, very important. Even if I don't think the president at that moment did it best, saying I'm not in favor and not pushing his party in order to the law to be passed. But that was a fundamental moment for the abortion to get into the public agenda. So this year was, in a way, much easier. Of course, the church was already organized to be in the street in this time. In 2018, they weren't. We didn't have in 2018 the church in the street. This time we had them.
Wait,
but
so
also,
go back for a second. You had the church in the street? What do you mean by
well,
that?
no. What I mean is the people who you know, people against abortion. I mean, the church is very vertical here, and of course, not the Catholic Church. I would say the Catholic, the Evangelist Church, also the Jewish Church. Those who are against, all these groups this time were very organized. The people who respond to them, of course, I mean, not the church itself, but they were very organized to be on the street. So we were in front of the Congress. It's like a park. The park was divided in two. In one side were the Greens. We were the Greens with the green scarf. And in the other side were the blue, because they used the blue scarf, like a light blue scarf. So that was very impressive, you know. They were there and we were here. We can hear it. We can hear them. They can hear us. So there was something before and after 2018, but this year was very important. And some strategic political issues about this year. The debate was done on 29th of December. Here the summer starts. Was very close, you know, Christmas and the end of the year. Most of the people who are of those who represent more the blue side were on vacations. The thing was that, of course, they thought on that. They thought on that. No, but it's true. But it's true. And you know what? The senators are those who represent the provinces. The whole year, the Senate debate from home. All they were in their provinces. This time, the government make them to come to the city of Buenos Aires and to be in the Congress. You know what? Because they thought we don't want the senators to be in their home, in their provinces, and to have all the anti-abortion people in front of their homes, you know, like making them doubting about their votes. They wanted them here so they know they could manage and control their votes. So they were really clever. There was a political strategy behind everything. And that is not minor, you know. It's very important.
So with the church, I mean, how do you think, you know, the Latin America as a whole is just so deeply steeped in Catholicism. I mean, it's everywhere. How did a country that really is still, you know, has the Catholic Church, so, and Pope Francis even from Argentina, I mean, how did you get here? I mean, it's just, and I know that's a huge question, but
but I can answer that. Well, first of all, Argentina is not. I would say that Argentina is not the most Catholic country in Latin America. I would say one of the least. I mean, Colombia is very Catholic. Mexico is Catholic. Brazil, the evangelist movement in Brazil is huge. In Argentina, you don't find an evangelist movement so big as in other places. They started to be presented since 2018, but they weren't before. And we know there were some influence of evangelists from United States coming here because of the abortion issue, putting money here and all those things, you know. The Catholic Church has a lot of power, but they started to lose some power since we passed, some years ago, we passed the equal marriage law. It's amazing because Argentina has passed the equal marriage law before the abortion law. It works on the other side, you know. First you pass abortion, then you. So they started to lose kind of power because of those kind of law, the sexual and reproductive health law, like sexual and reproductive health education law. So in a way, they started to lose some power. It's true that Francis Pope is Argentinian, but as far as we understand, Alberto Fernandez went to talk to him and said to him that he was going to do this. And apparently, Francis Pope said, I'm not agree, but okay. And 3 weeks before the law was sent to the Congress, Francis Pope sent a letter explaining why he's against. And as far as I know, in March, abortion was passed, the legalization of abortion was passed in New Zealand, and I didn't hear that the Francis Pope sent any letter to New Zealand. So it's true that Francis Pope has kind of, the double standard. He tolerates abortion for you guys, from people from Europe, from people from New Zealand, but he doesn't, support or sustain abortion in Latin America. Of course, because they don't want to lose power in Latin America. It's the place where they must have it. And obviously, for the church to have abortion passed in Argentina is strong, because the message that you are sending to the whole Latin America, if abortion is tolerated by Francis Pope, who is from Argentina, we can do it in our countries as well. So we are like trying to see what is going on in the region in relation to this, because it's a huge issue. It means a lot having abortion passed here.
Strong. That's really strong in terms of saying, the potential impact on other Latin American countries, saying, okay, well, if Pope Francis, from what you're saying, it sounds like he gave like a letter that was like not that strongly worded, being like, this is not great, but it wasn't like, you're killing, those stupid right wing, you're killing babies, you're murdering, blah, blah, blah. It sounds like it was more like a.
You never know how politics works, but Francis Pope is very progressive. He came from a very progressive church. So we don't know if the letter was sent because it has to be sent, or it's because he really think you never know that. But the thing is that you have the abortion decriminalized in this country, which is and means a lot.
Yeah. Can you? The other thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. So basically, and for the audience, this kind of started with Ni Una Menos, if I'm not mistaken, which was against violence against women and femicide. And Ni Una Menos means literally not one less. So like not one less woman in Argentina like dying. And it's been all over Latin America. Now, everyone can get behind everyone, no matter their religious, moral, whatever views. Nobody's going to outwardly say, I support violence against women. I support women dying at the hands of their partners or whoever. But plenty of people will say, I don't support abortion. So I think I'm just trying to wrap my head around shifting this narrative. Like, were you able to galvanize people who were against violence against women into the abortion rights movement? Well,
I would say that these are two different things. Those who, the entire society is very against violence against women, and in fact, this today, because of the case that we have today, people are very angry. Because
what is the case today, Mariela? Can you update
that? Was a young policeman in the province of Buenos Aires who killed his ex-girlfriend, and she denounced him like more than 5 times. He got the police. She went to the police plenty of times. She went to the justice plenty of times. She did everything, and the last message she sent was, if he killed me, please, please make a big noise in the country. And that happened. He killed her, and the thing was that he killed her, and when some of the friends of her were trying to enter to the place where they were other policemen there, like trying to avoid them to get into the place. So it's a very special case, and of course this is a very machist society, but the discussion about violence against women goes in a different, in a different path than the one in relation to abortion. Abortion is more related to, to the right to life, the right to this discussion about the right, which is more important, the right to life of the women, the right to autonomy, the right to decide about her body, or the right of the potential baby to, to who take care about the baby or the potential baby, the fetus. So the discussion is absolutely different. So of course the church is very against the violence against women. So it's not a mix. It's not the same. It goes for different paths.
Did move into, like, didn't the decriminalization of abortion become a central figurehead of Ni Una Menos?
No, the thing is that in the Ni Una Menos, in the demonstration of the Ni Una Menos of 2016, the persons who were reading the different messages to the government in relation to violence against women had one message, which was, and we want also the decriminalization and legalization of abortion. Was kind of, we mixed up the messages to the government, so we asked all the issues related to women, but it's not. But the discussion goes in different paths. The movement, we are not going to see a demonstration divided in a demonstration related to violence against women. You are going to see everyone, the blues and the greens, all together in the same place. So it's absolutely different. What I will see is that the next step, which is coming, is the issue in relation to violence against women here in Argentina. But also for you to be on the picture, we already have more than 35 suits asking for the unconstitutional of the decriminalization and legalization law, of course. And that was made by the movement that is against abortion. Of course, we are there to defend it, and we have very good arguments to defend it, but they organize themselves and they present suits in all the country. So it's a lot of, it's a lot of suits asking for the declaration of unconstitutionality of abortion, the law that has been passed on some days ago. But of course, you don't know. You can have judges that, because of they are against abortion, they could accept that, or you can have. But then when you have the appeal and everything, and of course, what we expect, we are defending those cases as a human rights organization with other colleagues, women's organization. But with this Supreme Court, we expect that once these cases got there, of course, they are not going to give place to this to happen. It's not going. They are not going to accept that. But we need to travel all this fight in different justice system in the whole country, fighting for defending the law.
So she decides it's a global movement for women's rights. Or for decriminalization of abortion. Can you talk about the linkages between different countries? I'm also really curious to hear, because at the same time that Argentina legalized abortion, Poland made it illegal. So how do we weave these countries together?
Yes, Poland and that Germany is also, in Germany they are also trying to do that. Well, you have that in the United States, in some states. With Trump, you had that. I hope this changed now. We don't know. Yes, but of course, she decides is a movement that starts because Trump's decision Trump's position against women's rights that's why she decided to start. And she was a reaction against Trump position in relation to women's rights, and it started by a leading position of I would say the like Norway. Sorry, I lost
here.
it.
You're just full screen. I'm still here if you don't see me.
It started because of Norway, Denmark, the ministers of women in Norway, Denmark, and all the countries there decided to start this movement. And it's made by representatives of the government, of civil society, of private companies from everywhere, and also from young people from everywhere as well. And the main objective of this movement is to try to make this kind of, like South-North, South-South kind of dialogues that could help in different women issues around the world, that could help each other in terms of, for example, bring abortion issues to my colleagues in other countries where abortion is not decriminalized or legalized, in order to start this kind of discussions for them to have tools, ideas, strategies to learn from us, or bring from them to hear, for example, issues related to, I would say, violence against women. It has to do with that, to exchange experiences and to learn from each other, but also to make some commitments in important spaces like UN or important women's issues that happen around the world, more in UN spaces or regional spaces.
So have you had any conversations with Polish activists or the women in Poland in terms
of because I'm because I'm the director of Amnesty International Argentina, of course I have a lot of conversations with my colleagues in Poland. We have an Amnesty International Poland, and we are having conversations with them in order to try to help them to prepare and design some campaigns there. The issue is very hard. It's not easy for them to do that now. But also what we do as Amnesty International is to bring and to put the issue about Poland in our countries. We have more than 100 sections in the whole world. So we bring the Polish issue in our countries about abortion, and we visibilize that in our country. So it's a way to make pressure on the Poland government. That is the way Amnesty works. And in fact, all my colleagues around the world help me a lot, help my section a lot in order to have the law passed here in Argentina. Amnesty has a very important role in terms of visibilize the situation of abortion in Argentina around the world. And that's happened because of my colleagues around the world. They really took the subject and put that subject in their own agenda, the agendas of their own organizations.
So what would you say to, a Polish woman activist who is, terrified right now at what happened in Poland? What would you say to her, like what to do?
You started by saying something that is absolutely true. Abortion could be banned in everywhere, but abortion happens clandestine. You have clandestine abortion in every place in the world. So if you don't have, for example, abortion is banned in Chile. Well, it's allowed in Chile in some cases, but it's banned in Chile, in Paraguay. So what we expect now is to have women from Paraguay come in here and get an abortion here in Argentina, or women from Chile come in here and get an abortion from Chile. The same happened in UK with Ireland, that doesn't have the abortion pass. So that would happen absolutely, but also I'm sure that in Poland you could travel to other countries to do that, but also I'm sure that in Poland abortion is happening clandestinely. So this government is very, very special. It's not an easy government. What I would say to Poland women is to try to do and to use all the international pressure to try to help them in putting the subject outside Poland, so that would help in make pressure on Poland government in the embassies in every place, so that make Poland to feel pressure from other countries, like in the UPR, in UN, in every opportunity that you have to push on Poland about this issue. This is what happened here. You know, every UPR. You know what is the UPR? You know what is the UPR, right?
No. What is UPR?
The UPR is the universal report. I know how to say in Spanish. In English is universal. But it's a universal report that all the countries are obliged to present a human rights report in UN in relation to the human rights each 4 years, and other countries ask questions to that country in order to see how those countries are performing human rights issues. So there is a lot of lobby going on there, because when, for example, when Argentina did that, I think was last year, Argentina was in UN and all the countries were asking about abortion. And that's why, because we work a lot with other countries, with embassies, to try to put those questions in the agenda on the UPR. So these are pressures that country has and work very well to put the subject outside, to visibilize the subject at UN. All these issues work very well to bring individual cases to, for example, the European Court of Human Rights.
Do you that was one question I had for you. Do you consider abortion a human right? Access to abortion?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the right to a life, of the right to life, to dignity, to decide on their own body, to autonomy, to the autonomy of the women, the right to privacy. You know, is the right for a woman to decide what to do with her life. I don't need the government to say to me what to do with my life and when to have kids, where, when, in which way, and where. I mean, it's absolutely human rights. It's not because I am saying or Amnesty is saying. It's because the international human rights system, it says that. You have a lot of resolutions of special rapporteurs, of UN in general, of individual cases, regional cases, that said that abortion is a human right, and if you are not respecting the right to abortion to a woman, you are violating the right to her life, and all the rights that I already mentioned.
Yeah. I think that's what, because I think about this a lot in the U.S. because obviously it's a hot button issue here, and one of the big problems here is that the right wing has taken this term pro-life, but it's really just pro fetus, and it's anti-life of a woman because it could ruin her life, and it's very unhealthy. There's some horrifying reports I was listening to of Argentina. If girls are under 18, their body's not ready to have a child, and they can face the child itself can face birth defects, is more likely to end up in criminality later in life, all sorts of health issues. And the woman herself has a much, much higher rate of maternal mortality because her body's just not ready to handle it. And to say that, someone should be forced to have a child, and then it's like, but who supports that child? Like in the US, the right is like, oh, well, have the baby, but then there's no support once they actually have the baby. And then the child's life is like, well, how do I support this child that you made me have? Yeah, I could go into a tangent about this forever. It's really anti-life of the woman. And they're like the running joke is always like, men are very happy making rules about abortion, but like, can you imagine a bunch of women in a room saying that all men should have vasectomies at a certain age? or like, you know what I like? I mean, it could never happen. There's
Never.
no way. Like
No way.
the intrusion of women onto men's bodies, that could, even if we said like every man should, you know, has to have a tattoo on his left arm, anything that was like violated like a man's bodily integrity, I mean, they would go ballistic. Like there's no freaking way. But when it comes to women's bodies, it's okay somehow.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. It's like that. It's like that. And in fact, you know, what is funny is that United States is not, you know, you are not under the Inter-American system, which also has very good decisions in that respect. So you have a lot of arguments from different bodies, international human rights bodies, that sustain that abortion is a human right. But of course, this is something that we still need to fight in courts, as I said here, and in courts you there. And it's something that we will fight for a long time. I don't think, you know, abortion will be implemented like this here in Argentina one day to another. It's not going to happen, because we also will find some doctors and some public servants who are not going to be happy to do abortion, so they are not going to do them. So these things are going to happen. So and there is a lot of like things that the government needs to do in terms of the implementation of this law, and to put money as well.
Yeah, I wanna go somewhere, and then I want to bring in Tammy. You know, one of the things I always found so fascinating about Argentina was Las Madres de la Plaza de Mayo, which, for the audience that doesn't know what that is, it was basically when all of these people were being disappeared in the 1980s by the Argentine military junta. All of these women basically took to this square in front of La Casa Rosada, and they walked. They weren't allowed to stand because that was illegal, but they could walk, and they would walk around. And they were called Los Madres de la Plaza de Mayo because it was the Plaza de Mayo. And they would walk around holding pictures of the disappeared. And they did this, I think it was every Tuesday or something, every week.
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. And it really led to the downfall of the military junta. So A, the history of that, but B, what I found really interesting was that one of the senators that voted to legalize abortion was a child of the disappeared, who was then given to security forces, and she didn't know that she was not a child of the disappeared, and then found out later, and now she's legalizing. I mean, like the whole thing was like,
yeah.
Whoa.
And you know what? Another thing, those mothers, as you mentioned, if you saw that, they use a white scarf.
Mm-hmm.
The green scarf is the white scarf. Was inspired in that white scarf.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's why the green scarf. And the green scarf is amazing. You know, in this region, the green scarf is in every country as a symbol of the legalization and decriminalization of abortion. Mm. We didn't have the same, you know, the same phrase in it, but the green scarf goes farther than Argentina. It's in the whole region. And it came from the white one.
Do you feel like women are like kind of inspired by that history of women?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Argentina is a country where we are a very mobilized country. We are very used to go to demonstration all the time. You know, every time we are not happy with something that politicians are doing, we went to the Plaza de Mayo, that the one that you mentioned. It's in our culture. This is a very, you know, like mobilized country because of what you were saying. Absolutely.
Amazing. So I want to bring in are you okay to stay for a few more minutes?
Yes, sure. Yes, sure.
I grabbed Mariela while she was on vacation. She was nice enough to still come on the show. So I want to bring in Tammy Rosenzan, who is a 19-year-old in college studying global politics and feminism, just to get a little bit of her perspective on the future of the feminist movement in Argentina, because she's going to be one of the ones that, you know, keeps the charge up. So Tammy, I'm going to bring you in. Tammy, you're
Hi.
There
Hi,
you are.
everyone. Thank you, Samantha, to invite me. Okay, for us, the young women, feminism is a part of our identity. Today, I think about this, and I say, okay, in every talk with my friends and every day we think about feminism not only as a movement, also as a way to live. It's like this, and I think that in the future, as Mariela says before, we want a country that take care of us in a real way. In January, we have one femicide every 27 hours. It's like one per day. And you like woman, you didn't feel safe in the street, at the night, at in the taxi, in the Uber, and you feel that the state and the police doesn't take care of you, of your friends, and like Mariela mentioned before, you maybe go to the police station and says that you are suffering gender violence and they didn't care. So I think that the next step for our generation, the first step was legalization of abortion, that it's a symbol of my generation, like the green handkerchief that waits for the, I have it here.
Yay! Can you read out what it says? Can you read out what it says and you hold it up, Tammy? What does it say?
Yes, I'm going to translate. Says when okay, it says the national campaign for the right to legal abortion, safe and free, and the slogan of the campaign is integral sexual education to decide, anti-conception, yes, to wait. Anti-conceptives for no abortion and legal abortion for not to die. So this is like a slogan for our lives, and when the legalization of abortion, when we achieved the legalization of abortion, it was like, okay, so many years, and not only for our generation, it's a struggle that the national campaign starts at 2003, maybe, yes, 2003. But for us, it's like, okay, we made it, we achieved this that for a long, long time we are looking for, and not only for me, that I'm a privileged girl that live in the capital city and all of that, but for the poor woman that they made abortions in the worst conditions, in horrible way, that mostly died. And I think that achieve this struggle and this right to us was an inspiration to to continue the movement, to never giving up for what we want and what we believe that is going to create a better world and a better society. So I think that in the future we want two things: that it's more justice, that I think that this, and more equality and more women in leadership positions in business, in politics, everywhere, and girls that maybe now are little girls grow up with strong role model from women with conviction, with action, and I think that my generations brings all that energy.
So exciting. Mariela, I see you smiling over there. What are your thoughts on what Tammy's saying?
No, I agree with Tammy. I think that, as I told you, I think that they took this struggle, the struggle of the decriminalization and legalization of abortion in 2018, very, very, very hard. And the politicians are very clever because they are those who are going to vote to them in the next years. So they are looking what they are fighting for. So I think that having young people involved in these kind of issues and these kind of fights is very, very important. It's very important. It makes absolutely a huge difference. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Can I add something?
Yeah, please.
No, that I think that this with Ni Una Menos and the legalization of abortion and all of this, in Argentina, the paradigm from politics it's started to changing because now I think that the politician really hear the young people. Maybe before there's like, okay, you are young, you are going to say silly things, you don't know anything, so shut up. But now it's okay, the young people know. I told Samantha the other day, but I told to the audience now, but we have a legislator that now it's 21 years old, and the young people now it's having a lot of power and a big voice.
So, I think that the issue you brought up too about safety is really important, that there's so many countries in the world where women don't feel safe, and recognizing that if, in the United States, there's been this huge awakening of realizing that a lot of Black people, parents tell their Black sons, never go to the police. And if you're a victim of sexual violence, still in America, one of my close colleagues, she, no joke, was pulled over by a cop, and he basically said, I'm going to give you a DUI, driving under the influence, unless you give me a blowjob. I mean, this was a police officer. And it's like, she was like an 18-year-old girl, and, having a DUI on her record would go forever. And then she didn't do it, but then he gave her it on her record, and it influenced her to this day. And so they exploit, like, the exploitativeness, and not all police are like that, but being exploited like that, or being told, when you go to report sexual assault, I went to report a sexual assault, and the police said to me, I kid you not, they said, we just had a case where, a woman was gang raped and there were witnesses, and she still didn't win the case, so you don't have a case. Like, don't waste your time. You're not going to make it. Like, you're not, this isn't serious enough sexual assault. I mean, it blows your mind. And so, when you have that betrayal, almost, it's like, the police and the military are an institution of the government. It doesn't just feel like a betrayal by the police. It feels like a betrayal by your government and not being able to trust your government. And I think you're right that for women, safety, another big thing in the US is that like the likelihood that somebody ends up being killed in a domestic violence case is like 5 or 10 times if there's a gun in the house. So these ridiculous gun laws that allow people to have guns that end up, being used in suicides and homicides is also not protective of women. So it's just interesting thinking from a domestic policy standpoint, how do we reorient state domestic policy to really think about the security of women? Because it's shown that countries with gender equality and that ensure the safety of women are more stable, are more prosperous, have more, higher GDP, but that you have to do such a reorientation, and then thinking about it from an intersectional lens of, okay, do poor women, do Black women have even more of a disadvantage? How do you even ensure their safety? But I think that's just a really important thing to think about, and how much it could breed insecurity in just an individual person to know that the police might not be there to protect you. So it was just a little tangent. So I'd love to know, we're nearing the end of our show, what your hopes are for your country kind of moving forward. We know what Tammy said. She said, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. More women in positions of leadership, the reduce of violence against women. Mariela, you've had this long and amazing storied career. What are you looking for now? What's the next step in Argentina? Well,
to be honest, I was very lucky in my career because I'm in a leadership position, and I have the opportunity to be where I am and to do what I like. But I think in this country, not all the women, as Tamara says, have the opportunity to get to higher position. So I think that the issue related to equally to try to have equal rights between women and men is one of my dreams. Also, the issue related to violence against women. I really think that I don't know why, but we need more speed answers from the government. They are not doing the best. Neither the former nor this one. All of them has been dealing with this, but they don't know how to manage or how to administrate this violence against women issue. In Argentina, I would say that is really, really a systematic violation of women's rights, and it has to be taken as a systematic problem. And the third thing that I would add is to have more women in politics, because we already have that. We of course have the law that oblige politics parties to have women and men, but it has not been implemented as
Mariela, can you just educate the audience of what exactly that law is, because I think that's actually really important.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. What the law means is that when you present a list, like a list for your candidates to be part of the Congress, you need to put like women, man. I mean, you cannot have 5 men and then 3 women in your list. You need to have a equal man and equal woman. But the thing is that law has not been implemented equally in the whole country. For example, in the provinces, it's not implemented at all. In fact, it's not implemented. And the issue is that the political parties, some of them, they don't have even women in the constituency. So this is something that we still need to work out, and it's important because as much voices of women we have in political positions, much of our rights are going to be protected and respected. That's for sure.
Do you feel like a lot of the women that have been elected to office are feminists? Because we have people like Amy Coney Barrett, who's pushing us back 5 million years.
Yes, I know her. Yes.
Well, Sarah Palin, who can see Russia, but knows nothing except literally nothing. Anyway.
Yeah, not all of them, of course, but a lot of them, yes, and a lot of them has been crucial for having abortion passed, and they have been fighting very hard, very, very hard for that. But of course, there are some women which has been fighting not to have the abortion law passed, like Elia de Perez, who is a senator from Tucumán, and she's terrible. Like like the ones that you mentioned.
Amazing. Tammy, is there anything else you kind of want to say? You want to pitch Femme Global?
Yes. First this, but also my generation, I think that we have a perspective that, okay, we want women in leadership positions, but we also want diversity in which women are in that leadership positions. For example, I think that we have the perspective more trained that, okay, it's not only white women, thin women, blonde women. We know that maybe not, it's a fact that if you are fat and women, it's going to be very hard for you to be in a leadership position, or if you are black or something like this. And we want also diversity in that things too. Not only women, but also different types of women. And yes, Femme Global, it's an account that I create, and now there's
on
other
Instagram.
girls. What?
On Instagram. On Instagram.
On Instagram, yes. That now in the project there is 3 more girls from Peru, and we upload information for feminism in all over the world, the situation of women's rights all over the world. We made an event on August 2020 in a virtual way because of the pandemic, that different women came and talk about different topics from feminism, different women from different countries. And if you want to follow in Instagram, it's femme.global. And now we are planning videos we want to make viral from legalization of abortion in Latin America, because Argentina and Uruguay are the only ones. So if you saw the map, there's a map that the only 2 countries that are in green that have legal abortion are Argentina now and Uruguay, but the rest is in red or maybe orange, that they allowed you to have an abortion in some situations, maybe. And that's it.
Amazing. Mariela, is there anything, how can people support your work at Amnesty International?
Well, as I said, Amnesty International has more than 10 million members around the world that support our work, which means we found ourselves by individual donations, by memberships. So we have 10,000 million people that put money in Amnesty International. Of course, the North, I would say the North found the South, because the South is not that easy to. It's not that easy, and it's not the culture, or of the individual given. But I would say that Argentina is going to be the first country in the South in Amnesty that will be autonomous, because we have already 107,000 members already, and we expect to be autonomous by 2025. And will be the first section in the South to be autonomous, which means a lot in this organization. Yeah, so and abortion, yes, and abortion gave us a lot of members. It's funny because because people will think abortion is not a subject, it's not a sympathetic subject to get members, but it's happened. Of course, it's not the only issue that we work. We work a lot of issues, a lot of human rights issues. Our agenda is huge, and we cover a lot of issues. So we have members that support us because of different things. But I would admit that Amnesty has been fighting for abortion for almost 11 years now. I have been fighting for this for more than 20 years already. Wow. And I have been part of the campaign since 2005, something like that. And Amnesty, I don't know if Tamara can say that. I don't know if she knows, but she saw us. But Amnesty did a very, very important campaign for having abortion passed, mostly like a social media important campaign. We did a lot of lobby. We talked to a lot of legislators, senators, the people in the executive power. Well, we combined this, lobby work plus like communication and some activism actions in the streets and this kind of thing. So we did a lot, and we have an important youth group in our section that has worked very hard. Autonomy. They decided what to do for this law to be passed. Of course, the group is within Amnesty, and we gave them all the things they need to develop their ideas and to be creative and do what they want. And we have one of the girls in our team that made an amazing trap related to abortion that was very popular, I would say.
Mariela, what was the most convincing argument when you were lobbying executive branch or senators? Like, what was the frame you were using to convince them to legalize abortion?
We use, well, of course, the first issue that we bring on the table is the issue that this is human rights. It's a violation of women's human rights. We support this statement with a lot of different arguments came from UN and from different parts of UN, Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, all these kind of places. But also, for example, in 2018, we invite one of our colleagues, a very important scholar from Canada, and we bring her to talk to some legislators, those who are in favor and those who are against, to hear her. And we did the same with people from Ireland and from US as well. We bring people.
You were bringing them.
We bring people for Europe. Yeah, we bring people scholars, most scholars from Harvard, and this kind of important, this kind of important law schools, to explain them why it's important to have abortion decriminalized, and I think that helps a lot. This was very helpful, when they hear like very important scholar from those important academic schools explaining why and giving reasons. They start to take note, they start to think on that.
International human rights lawyers? Like, what type of scholars?
Well, they were more like, I would say, the gender law. Like, what they were more like professor of human rights, gender, feminist. Of course, lawyers. Of course, they were lawyers. One of them was a legislator. She wasn't a lawyer. She was communication. She came from the communication sector, but she was a legislator. So we make this legislator talking to legislators, and then legal scholars talking to legislators. But also we put her in the media. We put her in some events. There are a lot of strategies that we did in order to push for this law to happen. But the arguments were more like, it's a human right, the right to health. We didn't use that much the right to autonomous. Of course, if you ask me which is the first right you would bring to the table, I would say is my right to decide my own body. But we used to use that in the some years ago, and it didn't work. I think that it didn't work. So it was strongest the that abortion is the right to health, is a right to women, girls, and people with capacity to have kids, to have babies, to gesture, to health. That was better. We frame in the health right and.
Right. And that's what Fernanda said was, this isn't a moral or religious issue. This is about public health, which is really, that's where in America, we need to get it over there. Because it's for us, it's still steeped in religion. And when does the Bible say that if, fetus becomes a life, and when does its heart start beating? And it's like this ridiculous, like biblical argument, which is like, who cares? The Bible was like written by a white dude. Like, it's not proof of anything. Like, it's not even real. Like, it's like,
but I remember when I started, of course, as Tamara says, and I say, the fight started much before 2000. It started after the 70s. The campaign born in 2000, but the fight started after the 70s. We bring what you use in United States. We bring the autonomous issue came from Roe versus Wade. So we bring all that from United States, and it didn't work here. Well, I mean, I think that framing it within the health argument, the health issue works better here.
So interesting. Well, I feel like I could talk to you all night, both of you. I want to thank you so much for coming on Samanthropolitics, for giving us a lens into, the women's movement in Argentina. I think, I'm incredibly inspired. I know a lot of women and even men that are watching this will also be inspired in terms of how to create change in their own countries. And it's also really inspiring, Mariela, to know that, it can be pretty easy to give up hope when you don't have a win quickly, right? We're in this era of immediate gratification and instant Facebook likes and, DMs and Snapchats. And so to know that you've been in this struggle for 20 years, and like your efforts and strategies and frames and reframes and bringing Canadian lawyers and whatever, like it's finally worked. And so, I hope that people watching this will know, like, have faith. Like it's like movements don't happen overnight. This is a long struggle. And you have to just have faith and keep going. And when something doesn't work, you try something new. When messaging doesn't work, you do some more research and you try some more messaging. And I think also the aspect of thinking that it has to be culturally specific to your country, to your region, to what people care about there and what speaks to them. So, muchísimas gracias.
A pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies. And I'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Ciao. Well, that was totally inspirational. Again, that was the executive director of Amnesty International in Argentina, and that was Tammy Rosenzan, who's a women's rights activist who's 19 years old in Argentina as well. This episode of Samanthropolitics has been sponsored by Backblaze, which is a super easy and reliable way to back up your files. I'm going to show you quickly how I use Backblaze to make sure that I don't lose all my amazing Samanthropolitics episodes, which take up way too much space on my computer. So Zach, if you could upload that video, that'd be great. So you can see here how I am able to back up my files. You can see how, you could easily see what exactly is being stored. So you see, for me, for example, I have way too many videos, which are probably all the Samanthropolitics episodes, and lots of photos. You can see kind of the breakdown of where the storage is, and it continuously backs up. So you don't have to constantly remember, oh, I have to hit backup tonight, because it's continuously going to be backing up your data. And there's a ton of room to store it. So you don't have to worry about, your iTunes storage is full. Again, I feel like I'm buying iTunes storage every 10 seconds before I found Backblaze. So Backblaze is currently offering a 14-day free trial. So in order to get access to that free trial, you're going to want to type !backblaze into the chat, and that's going to give you access to that 14-day free trial to back up all your stuff and make sure you don't lose it when Facebook decides to delete it, which is what happened to me. Thank you. So I want to thank Streets, my amazing guests. I want to thank the impeachment team for doing an amazing job of trying to impeach this president after the fact for so much he's done wrong. And I really want to thank Stream Inspectors for producing the show, all of these beautiful graphics. I have no idea how to do any graphics. I do like stick figures and I can barely do a PowerPoint presentation. That's all done by Stream Inspectors. They also help me to get the videos loaded, you know, to produce this whole fantastic show that you're seeing here tonight. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Stream Inspectors. If you like this content, if you want to see more of this content, please click like on the Facebook page. That enables us to get sponsors to produce the show, or subscribe on YouTube, depending on where you're watching it, or follow me on Twitch. And lastly, send to people who you know, especially women's rights activists for this episode, who need to learn about how to create a movement and sustain a movement and create big wins. Also, I mentioned that I teach a women's leadership challenge with Mary Axelson. It is freaking awesome. It's basically where we get women from around the world together in very, very small groups, all different sectors, tech, government, human rights, corporate law, into one circle. And basically we learn what feminist leadership is and how do you operationalize feminist leadership and how do you really step into your own power as a woman and get to those leadership positions that Tammy and Mariela were talking about that are so important for us to get to broader gender equity. To apply for that challenge and to learn more, you're going to want to go to www.empowerglobal.net/new-online-challenge. You can also nominate an awesome woman for the challenge if you know a woman who is an incredible female leader, a female aspiring leader. So until next week, that is Samanthropolitics. I will see you soon. Adios.